All right, y'all, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Hashtag CB99 Talks. This is episode 80. Of course, I'm Combo Breaker 99. 80 episodes deep, y'all. We 80 episodes deep. We've been getting it on for 80 rounds now. Can't believe, man, it's been 2 years since I've been doing this show. I want to say the first week of January 2020. I think that's when I started the show, like the first or second week. Yeah, definitely. I know it was definitely January 2020. I just can't remember what week. But yeah, definitely been 2 years now. Can't believe I've been doing this show for this long, but definitely wanted to say, shout out to everybody in the chat and everybody that subscribed to the channel and helping the show grow. Definitely makes me want to keep doing it more and more. And, I was definitely shocked that, a lot of people ask me questions about the sport or definitely want to hear me talk about it, So shout out to everybody that's been, subscribing. But if you haven't subscribed to the show, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel, Combo Breaker 99. Subscribe to this show on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. And, yeah, man, if you do that, I'm going to keep on doing this show. But yeah, man, got a good episode today, man. I just want to, talk more WMMA, of course. I want to go back to the local scene as well, because, well, first off, I want to say, the one reason I started this show is because, I enjoy WMMA. I'm a hardcore fan of it. I've been a hardcore fan, for over 10 years now. And I just felt like, we needed more platforms. There's several on YouTube that cover WMMA, but it's only like a handful. There's only a handful of hardcore fans that really speak it, and I'm included with them. That's why I say, I want to jump in there as well and just speak on this sport that I enjoy. It's definitely one of the sports that I feel like has been bringing it over the past 2 years, and, all the way back, till since I started watching it. I enjoy how these women, they go in there and perform. I enjoy their work ethic. I enjoy the backstories. So, it's something I definitely felt like needed a platform to recognize it. The more, the better. The more, the better. So, since I started this show, January 2020, I just had it on my mind to go in there and just talk this sport and, kind of give shine to all these different platforms, not just the UFC, but, Bellator on down, Cage Fury and so on, even to these new platforms today, like the ones I'm going to talk about in this show. But, yeah, man, if you go back to January 2020, like I said, I just wanted to talk boxing. But, boxing's kind of been on the downside a little bit, so I just can't really just talk about politics and hearsay, she say, he say, she say. That's why I just been focusing on WMMA. And, I think that's been kind of better for that sport, because back in January 2020, I was kicking it off up to February. But I didn't even know, like, the year I was going to kick the show off, that pandemic was going to kick in, like, 2 months later in March. But, in a way, that was a blessing because that gave me a chance to reach out to a lot of fighters during their downtime. A lot of fighters are locked in, so I just hit them up on Zoom, and, we would just kind of chop it up. Several fighters I hit up, from Miranda Maverick, Tanisha Tennant, Brittany Cloudy, Katlyn Young, a lot of fighters. I hit up a lot of fighters during 2020, and, I got a chance to just talk to them about their careers, where they were going, how training was going, how training was going during the pandemic. So that was kind of a blessing, even during that pandemic. And I think during that time, gave a lot of people something to listen to, and they're still listening. So, I enjoy it, man. But yeah, as far as today, like I said, I want to talk more WMMA. When boxing comes back and brings us something more, I definitely will speak on it. But as far as WMMA goes, we had a lot of good fights this past weekend, all the way to the past Wednesday, actually. I want to go back from this Wednesday all the way to back Wednesday. Invicta FC 45. Let's talk a little bit about that card. Dynasty Combat Sports is a lower organization. We had Josette Cotton versus Latoya Walker on that card, so we're going to talk that fight. Then we'll talk a little bit about the PAWFC card. I just want to kind of give that some shine here because that's a new platform and kind of rivals Invicta FC right now. It's bringing in some more fighters over here. Chris Cyborg, she's definitely heavily sponsoring with him. And Sarah Kaufman was supposed to fight on that card. So, yeah, it's definitely one of those platforms that's, going to help a lot of these women mixed martial artists, get their shine, right? So let's talk about that. Katlyn Chookagian versus Jennifer Maia. Spotlight on Katlyn a lot lately here because, she's still kind of holding it down in the flyweight division at number 2. So I want to talk about that fight a little bit more. But what I really want to talk about is her not being re-signed and the UFC not really showing any interest in re-signing her. So we got to talk about that. And then I want to talk about her words from Miesha Tate, and then just Miesha Tate as a whole. I want to talk about her as a whole going down to flyweight right now because one of the things I've been asking myself, I say, okay, first off, the first time she said she's going down to flyweight, I say, okay, that's cool. That's fine. Hey, more power to her if she wants to go test herself. I like anybody that wants to call out the champion or put in that work or take a challenge, right? But at the same time, it's gonna be kind of a slap in the face to some of these other flyweights that are ahead of her that been laying down the groundwork, and she gets a title shot right away off a Lauren Murphy fight, right? That's why I've been talking about how Miesha Tate, if she comes into the flyweight division, she still got to work her way up, right? No privileges, right? No privileges. You just can't go in off your name and you've been out the game for a while and you're coming in off of one loss, right? But we'll get more into that. We'll definitely get more into that. So yeah, man, let's go back and talk about Invicta FC 45. First of all, I got to say shout out to Invicta FC. They've been doing this for a minute now. And, 45 cards deep plus some of the tournaments. So it's like, 48, 50 maybe. They've been doing this for a while. And like I always tell people, some people that don't really enjoy Invicta FC or they're expecting like this UFC level card, I always have to tell people like Invicta FC is like a building block. You know what I mean? It's one of the lower organizations that's giving women shine. Like, so don't expect like fireworks in every fight. I mean, every now and then you'll get like a Stoya Ranko versus Versosa. You'll get some type of blockbuster like that, or you'll get like a highlight real knockout like Emily Ducote versus Danielle Taylor. But even if you look at them, they were experienced fighters from Bellator and UFC, But overall, their cards are for a lot of women on the come up. A lot of women that are coming down, or maybe that got cut from the higher organizations. So you gotta expect some fights to just kind of be regular. You gotta expect some fights to just be regular because you got fighters coming in from the amateur level. So if you are bashing these ladies and saying, oh, they look amateur, oh, this is boring, some of these women are just coming in straight off the amateur. Some are making their debut. Some are 0-1, some are 1-0, some are 2-0. So expect it to be like, uneventful sometimes. Expect to see fighters going through the motions, right? So yeah, so I never go in just saying, oh, this card is horrible. There's always been some good fights there, especially when you know how to judge what you're looking at. Like if you go in seeing a 1-0 fighter, then I already know what to expect. So my expectations are not set to this Zhang Weili Joanna limit. You know what I mean? They're not to that level, right? So yeah, man, we had a pretty solid night, last Wednesday, six fights. Of course, the rematch everybody was looking forward to, Zappatella versus Del Boni. Very good rematch. Shout out to Del Boni. She got it done this time. She didn't want to leave any questions unanswered this time. But let's go back to the first fight on the card real quick. We had Sarah Klefka versus Maria Favela. Sarah Klefka, she came away with a split decision win. It was a solid bantamweight fight. They were just like I said, lower level fighters here, just kind of going through the motions of really trying to get their striking going. Like I can still see Favela a little green with her striking. She started off solid in the first round, landed some good leg kicks and committing to her, turning her punches over and landing some good strikes. But then Klefka, she came on a little bit stronger and, just started to control those rounds, the second and third round with her work rate, landing better punches and just putting the pressure on Favela. Very close fight. That's why I see it was a split decision, but I could see Klefka winning that fight. Klefka, her last fight was back in November against Brittany Cloudy. Brittany Cloudy, she was able to get a decision win over Klefka. So this puts Klefka back in the winning circle here. She's now 3-3. But yeah, still some growth there. Like I said, in Klefka, you need to see a little bit more rhythm with her jabbing. But she did well kind of pushing forward and just outworking Favela. Not really a lot of explosion in this fight, but just, like I said, two fighters trying to go through the motions and trying to play it safe to get a win. They both want to get back in the win column. Next up, we had Katie Saul versus Tamika Jones. Shout out to Katie Saul, man. I was happy to see her get a win in this one. She was on a 3-fight losing streak. Not only did she get a win, but she got a first-round submission win over Tamika Jones, who was making her Invicta FC debut. Katie Saul, like I said, she's known for her striking, very solid, long, tall fighter. But in this fight, she actually showcased her jiu-jitsu. She did well against the wrestler and Tamika Jones. I mean, I didn't see it coming. I thought it was going to stay on the feet. If it stayed on the feet, I definitely had Katie Saul winning, and I thought that was her key. I thought Tamika needed to take this thing to the ground. But Saul, she did a good job of just controlling the range, using her striking. Straight left hands and right hands just really cracking Jones, knocking her off balance. Saw she used her takedown defense to stop Jones' takedown and then takes Jones down, gets top position, gets on the back of Jones, just does some nice transitions here. Jones, she was able to fight that first submission off and land strikes herself and fight those wrists. But Saul, she was able to push that pace. Jones, she actually turned to get on top and land some shots, but Jones got a little sloppy in that guard. So Saul, she was able to lock in that arm and get the arm bar finish off of her back, So I was impressed with her jiu-jitsu. But, yeah, shout out to Katie Saul. Since she's been in the organization, she hadn't scored a win, but she finally got one. Next up, we had Helen Peralta. She got a dominant decision win over Elise Pone, who was 1-0. And it was just a big difference in skill right there. One fighter's 1-0. And this fighter here has over, she's 4-2. She came in at 4-2, Helen Peralta. So Helen Peralta, she's known as a power puncher, hard hitter, very strong. She just came in there with that confidence, right from the jump and controlled all 3 rounds. I mean, from the first round, she was able to back up Elise Pone with these roundhouse punches, just trying things out, head kicks, just kind of putting that pressure on and really trying to intimidate Elise Pone. And then just pin her to the fence, pin her to the cage, and really just pressure, work her with one hand while she's locked her up with the opposite hand. Lock her up with the left hand and then hit her with the right hand, or switch sides and just keep beating her up with one hand. Like, I was impressed by this controlled inside fighting. It just wasn't a lot of boring clinching where some wrestlers are just like pressing their head on you. You know what I mean? She was actually like holding you and still working on the inside. Like, there was a lot of controlled and educated bulldogging in there from Helen Peralta through all 3 rounds. This is how she fought the whole fight. Like, she knew she was dealing with a long striker, so she just continued to close distance, land punches for a little, for a little bit from the outside, but then she would go inside and just make this a dirty inside fight and just use her strength overall. So shout out to Helen Peralta. From here, man, she says she's comfortable at 125. I'd like to see her in there with somebody like Brogan Sanchez or Karina Rodriguez. I said that in my live stream the other day. Brogan Sanchez next, or maybe Karina Rodriguez for that title. Because I think Helen Peralta, maybe another 2 fights and she'll be UFC ready, man. Throw her in the mix because we need somebody with her type of confidence and her type of, her type of showmanship in there, because she's very confident and, she can get under fighter's skin. So we need somebody like her in there. Next up, we had Haley Cowan making her Invicta FC debut. She was able to score a rear naked choke over Monica Franco in the second round. First round, Cowan, she wasn't doing a lot, just doing a lot of laying and pushing on Franco to the cage, just using her overall physicality. Not much work going on here. She was just putting a lot of pressure on Monica Franco. She wasn't really doing like Peralta, how Peralta was, putting a lot of strength on Elise Pone and landing good strikes. Cowan was just using her wrestling here, just kind of laying and, like I said, just trying to really sap Monica Franco's energy. And then finally, she was able to get that takedown at the end of the round and really just control Monica Franco and keep her on her back. Second round, I needed to see more angles from Monica Franco. She wasn't stepping around the wrestler. She continued to let Cowan press in and just take the back. And when she got it back to the cage, she was able to get it down to the mat early and started working that ground and pound. Then she controlled that top position, got Franco's back, locked in that rear naked choke. I don't even think the referee really needed to call it. Like, she just tapped and she just let her go. It was like on their own terms there. So, Haley Cowan, she was able to score her first win in Invicta FC. She actually been out for a little over a year, I think. Yeah, she's been out a little over a year since her loss in LFA. I guess I think she had an injury or something like that. So she's back in the mix. But need to see a little bit more from Haley Cowan, maybe a couple of more fights at bantamweight. She's a good-sized bantamweight. Like, I think her striking needs to, she needs to work on her striking a little bit more. Her, just her overall IQ. But maybe a fight with her and Tanisha Tennant, that would be good. Or Alisa Zappatella. Before she can get a title shot, maybe somebody like Alisa Zappatella will be a good fight for Haley Cowan. This next fight, the fifth fight on the card, Ramona Pascuala versus Shamir Pashua. This was a catchweight fight, and I think it was at, 150? One fighter came in overweight. I think it was Pashua, right? I think Pashua came in maybe like 4 pounds overweight, had to give up part of her purse. But I like this fight here, man, because you got to keep an eye on Ramona Pascuala right here. Pascuala, I was impressed with her. I was really impressed with Ramona. Ramona Pascuala, very nice movement, good pop on her strikes, and I like how she can just step in and out. I think, she's definitely somebody that, well, I'll get to that in a minute. Let me talk about the fight here real quick. But Ramona Pascuala, she went in there, made a big statement. She got a first-round finish over Pashua. Pashua, I think she was previously undefeated before this fight. And it was just all-around good, explosive fight for Pascuala. She just went in there and, controlled distance well, threw some nice punches. I mean, at 150, she's light on her feet, and she can still deliver power. She put on some nice pressure against Pashua, and she committed to her strikes, backing her up, mixing up her attack, and good variety early, landing those right hooks, hard leg kicks, left hands. And that's how you get KOs. That's how you get KOs. You got to mix up the attack being unpredictable. Like, she was going upstairs, downstairs. You didn't know what was coming. So finally, as Pascuala was backing up Pashua, she landed a hard knee to the body, and then she went on the attack. And she was already done right there. When she landed that hard knee to the body, Pashua went into the cage, and she was already kind of cringing about to lay down. So a few more shots were thrown, but I don't think too many big shots landed. So the referee, he went on and stepped in. So it was a good finish. Ramona, very strong fighter. I know she trains with JoJo Calderwood. She trains out of Syndicate. And, I think that, she's very sharp. At 33 years old, she's fast, athletic. And at 150, shoot, I think the PFL needs to sign her. Maybe give her a couple more wins here in Invicta FC, give her a couple more fights, but they need to move her ASAP to PFL, because if they want competition for Kayla Harrison, Ramona Pascuala might be that one. I'm serious. She might be that one, man. If you give her a couple more fights, she already 33, so y'all got to get on it ASAP, man, because it looks like she knows what she's doing in there. I don't see that many lightweights moving around with this type of striking. I don't see that many that like to turn their punches over like this and just put that type of pressure on. She looked good. I mean, if you look at her resume, all finishes. I mean, you might talk about the competition, but hey, look at Kayla Harrison's competition. So this might be the type of fighter that could go in there and pull off that upset or give Kayla Harrison a tough fight. So a few more fights in Invicta FC, and we'll see where it goes from there. I think PFL needs to pick her up. She could make 155, be that lightweight, man. So yeah, let's talk about the main event. Here. Shout out to both of these fighters. Shout out to Alisa Zappatella for giving Jessica Delboni the rematch. Not ducking. She going straight back in there and wanting to fight Jessica Delboni again. And shout out to Jessica Delboni for, not whining, not crying, not backing down, not leaving Invicta FC or, not saying, I don't want to take this rematch anymore. Shout out to her for going through that hard work to get the rematch again. Like, not only did she stay motivated after losing, a close decision, which everybody thought she won, but she actually went through the motions. Like, she didn't just keep calling out the champion and saying, I won, I beat you, give me my rematch. She went through the whole process of the atomweight tournament, beat everybody in the atomweight tournament to corner the champion and say, there's nobody else, I beat them all, let's get it on. Let's get it on again, right? She went through that whole process. And again, got to give her a lot of respect, because this time around, she went in there and showcased a little bit of everything. I mean, Delboni, she didn't want to leave any questions unanswered. She showcased her skills on the feet, controlled the work on the ground as well. She neutralized the wrestling of Zappatella. Beautiful transitions with her jiu-jitsu to save her against the wrestling. Just overall good work from Delboni in this fight to capture that belt. And this time around, I think she just pitched a clear shutout. She pitched a clear shutout on Zappatella. Zappatella, I think that this time around, she wanted to start fast, which she did in the first round. She went in there, blasted in for a takedown, but Zappatella was looking strong. That first minute, Delboni, she was able to regroup. She was able to get back up and break from that guillotine that Zappatella tried to lock in. Zappatella, she was trying to stay in close, but Delboni used her grappling on the ground to neutralize her. She was able to neutralize, but when Delboni got back to her feet, just stayed comfortable, landing good right hands, started stuffing a lot of takedowns, and she found her rhythm. Second round and third round, Delboni was just reading those takedowns, controlling range, landing in singles, slicing that lead leg up with those hard calf kicks. Just a lot of beautiful work in here. Zappatella really couldn't get much going. I think she was kind of hurt in that second round. I think there was a point where whenever Delboni stuffed the takedown, she landed some big elbows on Zappatella. It was very effective, too, because whenever she got up, Zappatella looked like she was blinking. Looked like she was hurt from the big elbows. Then in that third round at range, Delboni was just landing beautiful kicks behind the knee, you could see like behind her thigh, like Zappatella's thigh was starting to turn red. So yeah, I'm just like looking at all this, like just how she was chopping her down systematically throughout these rounds. She was fighting behind, she was actually fighting behind the contender here. She was fighting behind the contender, and that had her confused. So Zappatella, she was kind of waiting, wasn't really throwing any jabs. Here and there, she would land the right hand, but she wasn't doing enough. Then in that fourth round, Del Boney came out, just walked Zappatella down, and just, again, found that rhythm, was just outlanding her and outworking. Zappatella did come out in the last round, let her hands go, but Del Boney just controlling that distance, making it hard for her to catch. And her flexibility on the ground was amazing, too, just how she could, like, stuff these single legs and just kind of roll out of them. She, like, rolled out of one of those single leg takedown attempts, and I was just impressed by how she was just able to move and grapple with Alisa Zappatella and make it out like that, and then go right back to striking. So I had it 5-0 for Jessica Del Boney. Just a repeat of the first fight, but with more intensity and a little bit of more everything on the feet or on the ground. So yeah, shout out to Zappatella. Shout out to Jessica Del Boney, the new Invicta FC atomweight champion. From here, for Del Boney, I think the UFC, if they come on with it, with the atomweight division, they need to pick her up. But if not, till then, just defend her belt. And just wait for that call from the UFC when they create the 105-pound division. As for Alisa Zappatella, same with her. Zappatella voiced her interest in moving up to strawweight, I think, in the UFC, if she was to win this belt. But I think she was kind of overlooking that because I don't really think she could fare well at 115. If she can't beat Del Boney, who's a solid striker, very strong on the ground. If she can't beat Del Boney, I don't see her beating a lot of these UFC-level strawweights. These fighters that are 10 pounds heavier, especially with her size and the way she strikes. It's not even like Tecia Torres. Ticia's strong and she'll come forward, and her hand speed is better than Alisa Zappatella. That's why she can, fare a lot better. That's why she fares better, and she's able to at least fight at the tier she's at in the UFC. But as for Alisa Zappatella, I don't think she has that type of arsenal to keep her safe in the UFC. So same with her. Just wait for the UFC to call, and hey, try to sign with the UFC's atomweight division. But I don't see Alisa Zappatella fighting at strawweight. I mean, hey, she could take the chance though. But I don't see her beating some of these high level strawweights. Even if she did get like to the top 15, it's going to take a lot. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Invicta FC 45, it was a solid card. Like I said, you just got to know what to expect from these cards, and you just got to know what to expect whenever it comes down to it. You're dealing with some fighters that are just coming in, making their statement.
All right, also got a chance to check out Dynasty Combat Sports as well. As y'all know, I talked about that the other Friday. They did like a live stream pay-per-view, and it was pretty good. They had a few amateur fights on the card, some like junior wrestling, and a few pro fights. Of course, that included Latoya Walker versus the number one head buster, Josette Cotton. And shout out to Josette Cotton and Latoya Walker. They put on a good performance. It was a very good fight. Like I said, it was some back and forth action throughout the rounds. It was just the fact that Josette Cotton, she stayed in it. She was durable. I think her boxing was on point. And Latoya Walker, her boxing was solid as well. They really, they both really had their moments, I'd say, in the first and second round. Latoya Walker was throwing more basic shots, basic 1-2, while Josette Cotton, she really committed to being awkward. She was doing a lot of James Toney in there, stiffing that jab out, dipping her head, a lot of head rolling. I'd say, the first round was close, but I think that Josette Cotton, she won it, with her jab, off her jab, landing a lot of good power shots, backing Latoya Walker up. She was able to stuff some takedowns. In the second round, I said Latoya Walker came on a little bit stronger, and, she did land some good 1-2s, started to catch up. So the second round was a little bit closer, but when we went to that third round, that's where Josette Cotton, she kind of switched her game up. She landed some good shots that started to stun Latoya Walker. And then she went in for that takedown. She was able to get the back of Latoya Walker and just get that right arm up under the neck and get that rear naked choke. I mean, she got it as Latoya Walker was on her knee, and she just kept squeezing until she got it. So shout out to both of these ladies. They put on a good showing. Hopefully, this leads to more fights for both of them, because, I think that Josette Cotton, if she can get back in there mentally and physically in shape, she's going to be a threat for anybody in the lightweight division. Maybe PFL will try to re-sign her, if she can stay more active. Latoya Walker, as well, I think she looked pretty good. I know these fighters are getting up there in age, but I know Latoya Walker, she still offers a lot. She can just keep it up and stay consistent. I know she has the career as a firefighter as well. But hopefully she can get back in there, man, because, I enjoyed the fight. They put on a good performance. They fought their hearts out, especially Josette Cotton. She came in there and put it down. So, yeah, man, hopefully she can get back in there as soon as possible. Maybe Dynasty Combat Sports, they'll welcome her back. And, she can put on some more performances. So shout out to Dynasty Combat Sports as well for bringing them, bringing them to the forefront like that on the main card. So, yeah, we had a lot of WMMA, man. A lot of WMMA over the past week. What else? We had ONE-FC. Let's talk about that a little bit. I did a video about the Muay Thai fight on the card. I mean, Supergirl versus Barbie. I gave my thoughts as a whole. As y'all know, Barbie won that fight by split decision, Supergirl won that fight by split decision, which I don't agree with. I thought that Barbie controlled all 3 rounds with better technical shots, better volume, better work rate. Supergirl had her moments in the first round and the third round. But overall, I think that I just think that Supergirl didn't do enough. She got hurt in the second round. The damage carried over into the third round. You could see her kind of blinking, like, she was hurt by the ear. So I think that was just a bad call on the judges. I know there's supposed to be a rematch in place, so hopefully that, Barbie, she keeps that momentum and she looks to finish this time around. That's how you got to do to these judges sometimes. You got to look for the finish. Who else was on this card? We had Mongbo versus Tiffany Theo. I know Tiffany Theo, she got the second round rear naked choke over Mongbo. That's the thing about Mongbo, man. Like, Mongbo, she's sharp, but she won't stay committed. Like, she has some sharp tools, very good striking, but she'll kind of like gas. The first round, I think she was winning clearly. Tiffany Theo wanted to take Mongbo down, just doing a lot of chasing. So it was basic 1-2s for Mongbo to keep her back. Mongbo had a basic 1-2, kept it in play, just kept thudding those shots off. But she started to lose it by the last minute of the round. She got taken down by Tiffany Theo. Tiffany Theo, she took that energy into the second round. And eventually, she got Mongbo's back away from the fence and took her out with the same thing, rear naked choke, as Josette Cotton did. That's the thing about Mongbo has good wrestling, decent striking. Her takedown defense and her jiu-jitsu, she needs work on it. Let's be honest. She needs to work on that stuff, because that was a very amateur move how she went to the fence and then she turned her back inward towards the octagon. And that's how Tiffany Theo was able to get that lock on her, So a lot of work needs to be done for Mongbo if she wants to stay in there. Yeah, it was a second round rear naked choke for Tiffany Theo. As for Mongbo, though, I think she just has a lot of work to do. She still has a lot of work to do. I mean, she's physically strong, has good wrestling, just got to commit, And the last fight on the card, of course, was the championship fight. Just so people know, this is 125 pounds. It says strawweight, but know that ONE-FC there, strawweight division is a flyweight division. Okay, we had Jingnong Jia versus Ayaka Miura. And this was basically Zhang, her clinic. She kept the fight standing. Good takedown defense. For 5 rounds, she really just controlled it with her singles. Good sharp hands and just measuring range well, and just staying on her game every time. Miura would try to shoot in for takedowns. She would just keep her distance. She would spin her, or she would stuff them. And she would just land good body kicks and good body shots. I think that the fight was probably like 4 rounds to 1, maybe 4 rounds to 1, or maybe just a shutout. I just really couldn't give. I maybe gave 1 round to Miura, like I said. But overall, I think Jingnong, she just did a good job of, keeping the fight standing and basic. I think, though, man, if she wants to go to the UFC in the flyweight division there or Bellator, she needs to step it up, though, as far as, putting shots together, turning her kill switch on. I mean, she's a good technician, but she's similar to Velasquez where, they can kind of just get comfortable in a fight. Sometimes you might have to take it to somebody if they're not really presenting anything big, you know what I mean? Like, if they're not really a threat and they just continue to follow through with the same thing, hey, you got to go after them and, turn that kill switch on. But shout out to the champion. She defended her belt again, though. So, yeah, good fights this past weekend, man, overall. What else do we have? So that's Invicta, Dynasty, and ONE-FC. Oh, man, and, of course, PAWFC. And for y'all that's not familiar with that, this is the brand new series, brand new organization for women. It's called the Pallas Athena Women's Fighting Championship. So Invicta's got a little run. Invicta's got a little competition out here. They got somebody giving a little run for their money, man, because Pallas, they put on a good show. They already got Chris Cyborg as a big promoter of it. She's there. Felicia Spencer is a commentator. They had Sarah Kaufman fighting for the inaugural Bantamweight Championship, but the fight fell through, so she was rewarded the belt. So she's now the Bantamweight champion, Sarah Kaufman that is. So shout out to Sarah Kaufman. Overall, man, it was 6 fights on this card? Yeah, about 6 fights, and I enjoyed them, man. All 6 of them, they were good. I mean, we can talk about all 6 of them. I mean, I'll give you the results, but I don't really want to go break down each fight, but I recommend the fights that you need to check out. All right, so PAWFC, the card as a whole, I have to say, my overall thoughts of the card was, it was, I enjoyed it. It was a good card, very similar to Invicta, as far as how they promote their fighters and how they kind of bring them out and they give them the shine that they deserve, especially like the up-and-comers. I think this being the first card that they had a lot of good backing behind them. Like I said, Chris Cyborg, Sarah Kaufman, and who else was on this card as far as some big names? Wasn't a great deal of big names, but they just been getting a lot of positive feedback, especially for trying to bring in a second organization for women, because Invicta FC right now, they still have a good following even on Facebook. They have over 200,000 followers or 200,000 subscribers on YouTube, but it's still they're still kind of flying under the radar, So for PAWFC to come through right now in this time, it is kind of a gamble. It is kind of a gamble. That's coming from a WMMA fan. I know that, not a lot of people are really trying to give WMMA the recognition it deserves, or, a lot of casual fans still don't really commit to these fight dates when they come out. So I got to give them a lot of credit for wanting to come through and, bring this new card, this new organization to the, to the scene right now. I think that's solid, though, because, it gives us more fights to watch, as fans, But, yeah, they had a solid showing. A lot of bantamweights on this card. I think there was a few catch weights as well, because I don't know if some fighters had missed weight, but overall, they were supposed to be bantamweights, mostly strawweights and bantamweights on this card. There was a title fight. That was the strawweight fight. Main event was a title fight. Then, of course, you had the original main event, which was a bantamweight fight with Sarah Kaufman, that was canceled. So had a good crop of bantamweights coming up here, and I think this is what we need. Some of them are still in progress of coming up, and that's why I say about these lower organizations, you're still getting these 2-0s, 0-1s, 1-0s, so you got to give them some leeway. They're still growing as fighters, you know what I mean? You can't just say, okay, this is amateur stuff. Well, it is an organization that's bringing in fighters that are coming straight out to amateur, right? So, yeah, with that being said, let's take a look at some of the fights on here. I'll just go down the list, and give you the winners of all the cards, and then stop at some fights that I enjoyed. So the first fight on the card was, let's see, let me pull this thing up here. We had Manuela Marcanidio. I think it was Manuela Marcanidio versus Stephanie Sissons. And that was one of the strawweight fights on the card. First fight on the card, unanimous decision for Manuela. That was a decent fight. It was a decent opener. Both fighters, I think one of them was out for inactivity. So it wasn't like an explosive fight, but it was a good showing by Manuela using her clinch game and her ground game. Now the second fight, Maria Jucic versus Clara Riccianillo. This was a good fight. This was a good one. This was probably like fight of the night on the card. Fight of the night for the second fight on the card. This was definitely fight of the night. It was a split decision for Jucic. Now, I could have saw this going Clara's way. I thought Clara landed some good shots. They both were going back and forth. I think Jucic, she won the first round with that big knockdown. She scored a big right hand and dropped Clara. The second round, I think, went to Clara, I think hands down. And then that third round, it was back and forth. There's a takedown for Jucic in there, but they were just throwing bombs, man. They were really like landing clean shots, like nice jabs and nice right hands from both of these fighters. So eventually, man, this Maria Jucic, she's 2-0 right now. Then you got Clara on this side, who's 3-3 now. She put on a good showing. She's fresh. She's like 24. But then Jucic over here, she's young and up and coming, still learning. These two fighters, man, I'm looking forward to seeing them grow. I'm looking forward to see them grow because they put on a war. They showed a lot of good technical skill in there as well. And just overall, like I said, just pulled me in to want to watch the card even more. So, yeah, Jucic got the split decision. Like I said, I'm not really going to argue with that because there was some back and forth in there. But I would have given it to Clara. That's just what I saw, like in rounds 2 and 3. I thought she did enough to win them. But, yeah, shout out to both of these ladies, Maria and Clara. They put on a good fight. And if you haven't seen this card yet, I recommend you definitely watching this fight. All right. Third fight was Elena Cook versus, she's got a big name. I'm not even going to butcher her name, but it's Maxine Turcotte. Elena Cook got a first round rear naked choke over Max. So we had some good finishes in there. Elena was dealing with a big fighter, big, tall fighter. She just closed the distance on her, was mauling, landing big shots until finally she could, just get that armbar, put that jiu-jitsu on her, man. So good showing. Fourth fight, another finish. This is why I'm a fan of Melissa Croden. Like, if you haven't seen Melissa Croden, this is up-and-coming bantamweight. Definitely recommend you check her out. So check this fight out. Melissa Croden also got a first-round rear naked choke over Jackie McLean. Went in there, controlled the fight from the distance. Landed good shots from a distance. She was the longer, taller fighter. When she got taken down by the shorter fighter, real quick, she used that IQ, made a little quick burst to get the back of Jackie McLean, locked in a rear naked choke, and just took it on home, man, in the first round. So, yeah, man, you had some good killers on this card. Fighters that wanted to go in there and close the show. They were throwing bombs in here. But Melissa Croden, definitely want to watch out for. She's tall, long, strong. She has that physicality for bantamweight. So I can't wait to see her come up. She needs to keep fighting organizations like this. Eventually get to Invicta FC or LFA, and then move from there to the UFC. So, this is just like the starting block for her. But she's definitely taking advantage of it. Who else do we have on this card? All right, fifth fight. Got another finish, man. Dakota Decheva, second round, TKO over Simone De Silva. Now, if you're not familiar with Simone De Silva, I know her face looked familiar when I seen her. I was like, I know that hair. She's actually a boxer. So you actually had a boxer coming in here performing on the co-main event. And I've seen a few of her boxing matches. She's fought Amanda Serrano. Like a couple years ago, I remember actually, I think I did a breakdown for that fight. I'm not sure, but I remember watching that one. And early in her career, she actually fought Zhang Wei Li. For y'all that didn't know, she fought Zhang Wei Li like early in her MMA career. So, she's a fighter. Simone De Silva's a fighter. But the better fighter that Saturday night was Dakota Decheva, another young 4-0 bantamweight coming up. She's another one to look out for. She has some good skills on the ground, in the clinch, outside. She's tall. She's 5'8". She was using that reach. I mean, front kicks. But it was her ground game. It was her inside clinch where she was just beating and mauling Simone de Silva up, taking her down, just beating her up at will, man. I mean, like, first round, she took some big elbows. And the way she was beating Simone de Silva, I thought the referee had plenty of times where he could have stopped it. For real, man, because, she looked hurt. Going into that second round, the doctors actually had to look at her, man. Like, her eyes were, like, kind of puffy, swollen. She looked hurt. So Dakota went back in there in the second round and just, finished her off. She gave her that ground and pound, took her down, laid her flat out, and just took her out, man. So, yeah, shout out to Dakota, man. I mean, she's definitely one to look out for. I think she has that long Muay Thai frame, and, that's going to be big going into this bantamweight division moving forward. She knows how to use it. Young fighter coming out of England. So, yeah, check her out, man. The main event, Laura Fontour versus Andy Nguyen. This was a good fight. It was a good strawweight fight. You had the long grappler in Fontour who didn't mind striking, with Andy Nguyen, who was very quick, active. I mean, there was a lot of back and forth action. The first round, I think that Fontour won it. The second and third were kind of close. Nguyen was throwing some nice shots in there, put a knot on Fontour's head. But every time it went to the ground, like in the second and third round, I believe, up to the fourth round, Nguyen would get sloppy in that guard, and Fontour would just continue to try to lock in an armbar. And I was like, eventually it's going to come. Eventually it's going to come. And I think Nguyen just got really worn out from taking big shots because Fontour didn't mind, slugging with her. She didn't mind landing shots. Nguyen had her moment, where she had Fontour laid on her back and started landing some good ground and pound, but Fontour was strong, man. I mean, Fontour going into that last round, once again, fighting off of her back, locked in that armbar, and Nguyen just kept falling for that right in the guard. So finally, man, she got stretched out, had to tap in the fourth round, and Fontour won that belt. She won that championship belt in the strawweight division. So shout out to Laura Fontour. Overall, man, good card. Like I said, 6 fights. Definitely got to check them out if you're a hardcore fan. Like I said, the 2 fights I'd say to look out for sure is that Maia versus Clara fight and Melissa Croton. Melissa Croton is definitely a fighter to look out for. And even that Dakota Decheva. Like, if you're looking for more bantamweights, you want to see some bantamweights, I would say 1, 2, 3, 4. And Elena Cook. You want more bantamweights? Yeah, definitely check out PAWFC, because I think they're going to continue to pull in more bantamweights here. And this is where Invicta and the UFC are really going to have to get their next crop of talent from, for sure. So, yeah, another good card. All around good card for women. PAWFC, hopefully they put on some more cards like this, man. Hopefully it's an active year. Of course, this kicks off the first one of the year, so hopefully they get some more in. I'm looking forward to them because I know Sarah Kaufman wants to defend that belt that she just won by, default. So shout out to Sarah Kaufman, new bantamweight champion there, but I know she wants to fight some more. And there's good fighters in here for her to defend her belt against. Yeah, but shout out to Felicia Spencer. She gave some good commentary as well, good analysis, because there was one call that she made in that Melissa Croton fight that she saw coming, and it just played out the way she said it was going to go. So I was like, oh, man, there you go. Okay. I was like, okay, she got some skills. Okay. So, yeah, man, definitely check it out if you haven't pulled this card up. But let's go back to last Saturday just for a little bit. Katlyn Chookagian pretty much, did it once again. She pretty much let history repeat itself versus Jennifer Maia. And I'm not going to break down the fight anymore. I just kind of want to give you my thoughts on the directions of these 2 fighters as well as the flyweight division. Katlyn Chookagian still has a solid skill set. And like I said, a lot of people think I'm overhyping her all of a sudden. But nah, man, it's like Katlyn, you just got to give her credit where credit is due, because she's still holding it down, right under Shevchenko and Andrade. She is that prospect killer. She holds it down and continues to show you why, look, she can thrive very highly in this grappler-heavy division. You know why? Because she has a style that these girls are not used to. So that's going to keep her going. And I mean, the more and more she continues to commit to her striking, and she works on her takedown defense more and more, I think she'll be a problem for anybody. Like, she could probably go back in there and beat Jessica Andrade in a rematch. Don't think she'll ever beat the champion, but she could probably go back and get another title shot eventually, even if that's like her end game. But we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But Katlyn Chookagian, I think, some of the things she said as well about Miesha Tate, now people are trying to reverse it on her, saying, well, you haven't improved, but that's not really the point here. Like, when she brought up Miesha Tate, she was bringing up the fact that she's going to be moving down in weight, with a completely different style, different frame, different size of fighters, right? So she's going to need to have some type of shown improvements to go against these smaller athletic women, right? That's basically what Katlyn Chookagian is saying. Because Katlyn's saying, okay, you're going to say she hasn't improved, but she's still doing enough to hold down her spot. That's a fact, though. Katlyn Chookagian is still doing enough where she could either go up or down. She has a style that's built for this flyweight division. In a grappler-heavy division, she's long and tall. She presents a boxing style that these other women aren't used to, and it works. Sometimes it doesn't when you're dealing with bigger fighters like Shevchenko, stronger fighters like Andrade, but for the most part, it works. She has cardio for days, got hands for days. So, yeah, it's like still a good style for the division. But where Miesha Tate might fail is her lack of defense, the weight cut, and, her wrestling might just fall into the play of other wrestlers in the division like Andrade, big, strong grapplers that can have a clear target to hit because their defense isn't that good, right? See, my point is Katlyn is adapting to the division. Like, it might not be improvement or in some people's eyes, but it is an adaptation. Like, she's adapted to the division where she knows how to fight these particular type of flyweights. See, the question is still out for Miesha, and Katlyn was just giving a clear-cut answer in that. She's like, she's tough and experienced, but she hasn't really evolved as a fighter. And that's true. Maybe her striking's evolved a little bit, but when you think about it, like, her tough and experience can only get you so far. If you haven't evolved to handle these flyweights, not these bantamweights, but these flyweights, if you haven't evolved, you're not going to fare well because her defense is a problem, and her style might just fall right into like Lauren Murphy's, boxing and her takedown defense, or Jessica Andrade's power, Katlyn Chookagian's volume, all of that. So it's not really trying to reverse and say, oh, Katlyn, you can't say anything. No, Katlyn's still holding down to number 2. Miesha's number 10 right now. This the second coming of Miesha Tate. You know what I mean? Even when she was in the game, she was still getting hit a lot. And eventually, the way the division was evolving, the bantamweight division, I'd say Miesha would have started falling. Whether it be, Irene Aldana, GDR, Valentina along the way somewhere, they would have gave her problems and probably knocked her down out of the top 10 for real, or just kept her out of the title shot mix. So, yeah, I think she was just stating the obvious, because I had to bring that up because after watching Katlyn's performance, once again, it was just like, okay, this is a style these flyweights ain't used to. Like, it would beat Jennifer Maia. I think if she come back against Andrade in the right mind frame and IQ and keeps the right distance, she'll win. She beat Lauren Murphy before. She beat Arujo. In my eyes, she beat Jessica I, but still a W on Jessica I's record. But she just, she's doing a lot of things that hold it down for the division she's in so she can speak on that, right? But as far as pushing forward right now, it might not even be a discussion anymore because Katlyn still hasn't been re-signed to the UFC, right? And Katlyn Chookagian right now is a free agent. She said, like, even before this fight, the UFC didn't show any interest in re-signing her. Because usually whenever you come down to your last fight on a contract, you start negotiating for that next contract, right before you take your last fight. She said that didn't happen. That didn't happen with them. So as of right now, Katlyn Chookagian is still a free agent. She's not with the UFC, technically. Now, it doesn't sound like they straight up cut her. It just seems like they're kind of thinking about what they're going to do. She might be on a 1 fight by fight basis or a 2 fight contract, who knows? But For me, if they don't re-sign her, I've already said it before, I think that'd be a stupid move because she still offers a lot in the division. You know, Katlyn Chookagian is definitely one of the smartest fighters there. She promotes a test for all your prospects to really test where they're at. You know, so she's needed. But on the business side, because I said I thought of this the other night when it was brought up, I could see where they would try not to re-sign her. Because you see how quick they cut Liz Carmouche after one bad performance against Valentina. You know, it's possible. Like, for her, it might be a situation where we have, like, employees on the job, like, just having them other job. You know, when workers tend to have been at a job for, like, 20, 30 plus years and they're getting older and they've already got that cap, you know, like the highest amount they can get paid. When jobs are going through transitions, they start to look for ways to get those older people to retire because they don't want to keep paying them that much money if they're not getting like quality work anymore either. When they're dealing with older people, you know, like maybe 40s, 50, not 40s, I want to say 40s, but like when you're getting up in the 50s and 60s and you're still working, you know, there comes a point like you might not get the same work ethic that you're getting out of a 20 or 30-year-old, right? So they're trying to find ways to get them to retire without, you know, saying they're making them retire. Like they don't want to terminate them, but they want to get them to retire because they don't want to keep paying them this high amount of money, right? So same thing could be the situation for Katlyn. The UFC saying, man, we keep paying her for all of these fights. You know, she's coming in here beating everybody in the top 15, or she's beat a lot of these girls. She has 8 wins. She's tied with Valentina, but she's not champion. So why are we paying her all this money, right? So they probably be like, okay, we got to wait. We're not showing any interest right now because we don't know if we want to keep her around if she keeps beating everybody like this and, you know, taking all the money. She's making the most, right, next to Valentina, probably, you know. So she might be in that same situation. So as of right now, she is still a free agent. Me, you know, my personal opinion, I think they need to re-sign her because she's still a good fighter. Like I said the other day, I gave all my reasons why they need to keep her. She's active. She fights everybody. You know, she's a big test. And number 4, she always makes weight. So got to keep her around, man. Like, it's not really a good case to say, okay, we can't keep her because she's beating everybody. You know, kind of defeats the purpose of combat sports and their rankings. So keep her around, sign her for 3 more fights, whatever they got to do, but try to give her an end game against Valentina on that contract, and maybe that'll sweeten the deal if y'all want her to retire. You know, maybe give her one more 4-fight contract, 3-fight contract, and then make the last fight on the card a rematch for Valentina as long as she's winning. And in that last fight, I'm sure she would say, okay, that's my end game. Because I'm sure that Katlyn, her end game is to fight Valentina one more time, win or lose. I mean, if she loses, she's going to end it that way. And that would be a good cap off for her career. That's the only way I'd want to see her go out at this point. You know, it sounds like she wants Miesha Tate as well. She did call her out, but you know, Lauren Murphy is supposed to have that fight, right? So yeah, man, that's how I feel about the situation with Katlyn. But as far as Jennifer Maia goes, she's got a lot of work to do, man. I mean, if she wants to get back in there with Valentina Shevchenko, just can't keep going off the fact that it was a hard fight. You know, you can't keep saying, oh man, I gave Valentina the hardest fight when you only really won 1 round and you lasted the other 4 rounds. You know, she still had a lot of work to do in there. You know, so yes, she looked the strongest, and yes, she took the beating well from Valentina, but there's no moral victories. Like, I can't really say she did anything else to really offset Valentina or make this fight a draw or like a split decision. You know, it was still unanimous Valentina's way. So, you know, she's got to think about that, man. Like, go back to the drawing board and look at the actual fight. Don't listen to the fans or like the corner that just said, oh, you did the best. You did the best, but look what the other competition against Valentina's done, though. Like, whether it be Lauren, Katlyn, or Andrade. Yeah, you did the best against all of them, but when you still measure the best as far as being able to get the win, it's still far off, right? So for Maia from here, might have to fight down. Might have to fight down and fight one of the winners of the Grasso JoJo fight, Manon Furo Jessica I fight. Hopefully, if Manon wins that fight, she can get the Jennifer Maia fight, right? So yeah, man, that was the only fight we had last weekend. But this weekend, who do we have? This weekend, UFC 270, we have, as far as the women, on Ngannou Gan. We have Sylvania Gomez Juarez versus Vanessa Demopolis. It's a strawweight fight. And really can't predict the winner on that one. I know if it goes to the ground, I'm going to give it to Demopolis. Probably got to lean more towards Demopolis in this fight, because Juarez didn't really do well under pressure against Lapita. She got submitted in the first round. She started to get outstruck in the first round, got taken down, and got submitted just like that. And Demopolis wants the ground. Demopolis, she wants the ground, okay? She'll take you to the ground. She's been working on her striking, but it's her wrestling and her jiu-jitsu that keeps her going. So I'm going to lean towards Demopolis in this fight by submission, if she can repeat what Lupi Ganita has done. And also in this card, flyweight fight, Jasmine Jacita Vicious. As y'all know, I like to call her Jazzy Vicious. Jazzy Vicious versus Kay Hansen. I'm going with Jazzy Vicious in this fight. I think Jazzy's strong. Like I said, she needs to work on her defense a little bit. She can bang with you. The minute she starts to take too much punishment, though, she will be smart enough to clinch up and take the fight to the ground. I think, she's the stronger fighter here. Kay Hansen's fought at flyweight before. A lot of people think this is the first move in the UFC. But, she has fought at flyweight even in Invicta. She was like a tweener, 115 to 125. But I think recently she's been dealing with some medical conditions. So she had to go back up. I think she was killing herself to make 115. But Jasmine, she's a big flyweight, 5'7", 68-inch reach. And I think she's strong. Like I said, she has power in both hands. She can stand and bang. And she's strong on the ground. Oh, man. Kay Hansen's 5'2" with a 63-inch reach. So Kay might have a chance on the ground, but overall, I got to go with Jazzy in this one, man. She's big fighter. 5-inch height advantage, 5-inch reach advantage. 5-inch reach advantage as well. So I think Jasmine, she's just got the momentum right now. She looked good in the Contender Series, and going into this fight here, overall, man, just looking at her past fights, I think she's looked better. I think, of course, you can always use improvement, but I think that overall, Jasmine has looked better in her past few fights. Like, doesn't have as many holes. Like, she may get hit, but she will hit you with some nice punches. She will come back with her shots. And her strength, it's just her strength, it looks so much more imposing than Kay Hansen. Jasmine looks like she could be a bantamweight one day. So we'll see, though. I'm going with Jasmine in that fight. I think Jasmine's going to take this fight, though. And I'll also go with Demopolis. So, yeah, man, yeah, like I said, we 80 episodes deep now. And like I said, I'm going to keep doing this thing as long as y'all tune in. Well, whether or not you tune in, I'm going to still talk, No, I'm just saying, I enjoy doing it. I just like talking about the fight game. I think, like I said, we don't have enough WMMA platforms on YouTube that really break it down. So I'm going to keep doing it. And as long as y'all subscribe and hit the thumbs up, I will stay in it. What else? Was there anything else on the map to talk about? I mean, we had a lot of cancellations, so I don't want to go into too many fights. I mean, I might talk Chris and Kat in the next one. Agapova, Marina Moreau, I might talk a little bit more about that. Ariane Lipsky, JJ Aldridge, I'll talk that in the next episode. Also, Mandy Bone versus Sabina Mazo, So flyweight division's popping. Then you got Marina Rodriguez at 115, who is looking to end the year with a title shot. I respect that. Gotta respect that. I mean, she put in the work, and if she can go in there and blast out Yan Xiaonan, I say let her get the winner of Rose Carla. Let her get it. Let her get it. So yeah, man, that's all I got on this one, guys. Let me know in the comment section what y'all think of all these fights, these organizations like ONE FC. Do you think the UFC is going to start an atomweight division? I don't know. Like I said, if they do, Zappatella still needs to stay in the atomweight division. I don't think she'll fare well with the UFC strawweights. Hopefully we'll see Del Boni get on the map. And just remember, like, the atomweights in ONE FC are strawweights. I think we forget that sometimes. So Stan Fairtex might not necessarily want to move down to 105 in the UFC. If anything, she fight at the strawweight division, strawweight limit. But even then, I don't know if she want to move to the UFC. I think Stamp is pretty good at ONE FC right now. She's got the big backing. She's popular. Got her own fan base. She's an entertainer over there. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that goes with the atomweight division, though. But yeah, guys, make sure y'all subscribe here to the YouTube channel. Also subscribe to the show. #CB99 Talks. iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, all of that, man. Like I said, this show, maybe you'll start going to these platforms exclusively if YouTube keeps taking subs from me. All right. So yeah, hit that thumbs up, y'all, and make sure y'all subscribe. Like always, I'm Combo Breaker 99, and we'll be back for another one next week. More WMMA. Like always, Combo Breaker 99. Make sure y'all subscribe. I am out. Peace.